experts from the land side to the terminal to the air side maximum. Please, let's be careful about the number of slides we have and ask questions as much as possible. The general manager standards. One round of applause for him, please. Aviation security training and certification. His general manager. Round of applause for him, please. The next, again, we have my bond, who is going to be talking on airport operations and passengers, and it's going to be handled by Captain Samuel Corcoran, who is the principal managing partner of Avero Capital Partners. He's going to presentations are being done. May very likely invite again the director in the field now. And so the more we maximize our stay here, the better for us. Come on here, please.
Sorry, excuse me.
Under the chairmanship of the DGCA, it's a journey, not a destination. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, very distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, who regulates that the sector is beautiful for the players, and also that we're here to share responsibilities, not rights. The Director General of the Civil Aviation is already in our midst. A warm round of applause for Captain Chris Najomo. The Vice Chairman of Aviation, Senate Committee on Aviation, our own distinguished Senator Peter. Let's salute and celebrate the Customs, please. They are here. A warm round of applause for Customs.
About the issues that are right now in the eye of the storm. And I like this perspective because even a pilot at one time or the other can also be a passenger, correct? And so everybody here, the stakeholders in the aviation industry, the security stakeholders, the airline operators, at one point or the other, you were all passengers, or you will be passengers, or you have been passengers. So basically, we have more of questions as passengers than answers. So we want to ask some questions, we want to tell you about our confusions, our worry, and why we do what we do, why we act the way we act. Then luckily for us, we were called first so that as other speakers come up, they will clear our confusions, answer our questions, and leave us properly educated so that hopefully there will be no quam 3. Now, the first concern we have as passengers is what we consider the inconsistencies in the aviation industry in terms of instructions. We are not learned when it comes to aviation issues. So we are concerned when we see or hear a lot of inconsistencies. I'll give you some instances. Number one, some airlines, even in local flights, some airlines will allow you fly on flight mode. Like Aero, when I fly Aero just say flight mode. But Igbo Air don't allow me fly on flight mode. Like I'm talking of takeoff, award, landing. You must switch it off. So we are confused. On Air Force, what is going on? Why is it that in the same century, I'm talking of international flights, one airline will tell you flight mode is okay, and another airline will tell you switch off the phone totally. Now, most Nigerians who have traveled out of the country will even tell you that some airlines don't even care whether your phones are on or whether they are not on, you can fly. So we like meetings like this. Come with a kind of uniform instruction as it concerns especially switching off of phones and switching off of phones, flying modes, tray table down, tray table up, window shutters up, window shutters down. Why is it that some airlines don't care and other airlines care? You confuse us. You make us, that's why you see people just saying, I fly Ibom Air, Ibom Air didn't say anything. No. You are the one telling me to off it now. What is going on about such inconsistencies? That's number one. The second thing, from the customer perspective, how we see this issue of unruly passengers is, now let me go say something about inconsistencies. You know, Kwam 1, I was wondering, passengers were also wondering, how did Kwam 1 even get his liquids to the staircase? If he wasn't supposed to fly with the liquid in his bottle, who cleared him from the security points, from the ticketing, the boarding, the security points, until there was that altercation with the pilot at the staircase? So is it that the liquid the man was carrying was such that it was clear to be flying with because he passed all the securities before getting to the aircraft? I said we came with questions. So this inconsistency confuses us. Now, how do passengers feel about orders being given by pilots and crew members? First of all, are crew members generally rude? That's how it's known. Crew members are not generally rude. In fact, they are generally polite. They are. Most times, before a crew member and a passenger will have an altercation, it is only when the passenger has refused or ignored a polite instruction. That's the truth. That's the truth. There is no crew member that comes up to a passenger and just start shouting. No. In fact, they will even make a general announcement of what is to be done and what is not to be done. So crew members are not generally rude. I'm going to somewhere with this. Now the next question is, are passengers generally unruly or rude? The answer to is no. That is why, like the last issue we had, the issue, you see that it was just one passenger in that flight to show you that maybe there were about 100. So about 99.9% of passengers on that flight turned off their phones. They obeyed command. So passengers are not generally rude. Now, why am I saying this? Because the general perspective is that maybe our aviation industry has broken down. That's not true. We are not that bad yet. Crew members are not generally rude, and passengers are also not generally rude. Now, what is the cause of unruly passengers from the passenger perspective? The first thing we want to talk about is that, one, crew member is like, that is why they call the pilot captain. It's like once you are inside the flight, it's like a paramilitary arrangement. I don't know whether I'm correct. You just obey orders, you give orders, you obey orders. Like a military arrangement. Now,
do passengers have the right to ask questions like this? They do, don't they? But do they have the right to ask questions in whatever manner they please? Maybe, maybe not. But most importantly, do they have the right to ask questions in this kind of moment when you have boarded the flight and about to take off? The answer is absolutely no. Why? What do the rules say? What are the laws, regulations in civil aviation? Can I have the next slide, please? There's a whole gamut of regulations. Please just keep moving because of time. There's a whole gamut of regulations that deal with issues like your phone, smoking, on the aircraft and all of that. Keep going, please. Keep going. Now, what we should understand for passengers, first advisor and your fellow travelers, is that the rules of life, as you know, it change the moment you enter into an airport. It's no longer just about your personal opinion and what you deem was defined to be your rights. These rules get even stricter the moment you board an aircraft. The best way to protest against aviation regulations is not when you are receiving instructions from cabin crew. The argument about whether airplane mode is better than turning off your phone completely is not for when you are about to take off. You have to arrive safely first. Safety is number one in aviation. When you arrive safely, then you can file a complaint to the CAA, to the National Assembly, even to ICAO. Nobody will say no to receiving complaints from you. Right? Let's move on. Contrary to media reports recently in the event of in light of the two misses from 1 and 2, and we hope there will be no 3. Contrary to media reports in these cases, unruly passenger behavior is not on the rise in Nigeria. Unruly passenger behavior has always been with us, not just in Nigeria, it's a global phenomenon as well. The only reason perhaps why this is happening in this way is because of potential at the moment, and maybe because of the statuses of certain persons involved, and then the timing of the comfortmenting situation as well. It does not mean that it's right. It's how consumer protection officers of the CAA witness this on daily basis. Social media as well, the advent of it has helped to amplify the cities. We can read along as we go. Please just move on to the next slide. Now, go back, just one last thing. People don't care about their responsibilities. In my experience so far as Director of Consumer Protection, I noticed that passengers especially are obsessed with their rights, but choose to ignore their responsibilities. And one of the ways in which I know this, move to the next slide, is because whenever I make posts on X, for instance, every single post about the rights of passengers gets a lot of impressions. You see passengers coming and say, okay, now we know what to do to this airline. But when you speak about their responsibilities, almost minimum Nigerian passengers will because of time. Now, this is post about unruly passenger behavior from the 2nd of March. Move to the next slide. Let's see what people who have been observing say. Yesterday we made a post stating these laws, these regulations. Someone who has been very observant as someone to say 6 hours and only 22 reposts. Seems our online warriors don't like such areas. The argument that passengers do not know their responsibilities is dead on arrival because every single day since December 2023 that we came on board, our messaging has been very clear. Rights and responsibilities. Rights and responsibilities. The question becomes how much awareness is not awareness. People choose, you may put out a message. Can you force people to see what they do not want to see? We have been having this awareness campaigns, across the country, across regions. We have collaborated with Nollywood, Hilda, football, children, even to meet our fellow politicians. So, are these things going on because people don't understand what their responsibilities truly are? Are we not putting our messages correctly? While this is open to interpretation, the fact is you cannot force people to see what they are chosen to not see. It's part of why I'm happy that this event has happened, because they have exposed that to the system on all sides, so that everybody involved on every side will have the opportunity to sit back, look inwards, and then we can begin to fix what needs to be fixed. I'm very certain that K1 the ultimate will never try what he did again, even without being advised. I'm also almost certain that the pilot involved in that incident will not repeat that reaction again. So there are lessons being learned. How effective has the Consumer Protection Department of the CAA? We have an increase in the complaints that we receive daily from passengers. This would mean that, unlike in the past, more people are now aware where to take their complaints to. Because before I came into the industry, I used to have issues with the airlines. And once people, Nigerians hear aviation, usually they are thinking it's fine. People were not aware that the CA was in charge of this and could protect their rights. The fact that there's an increased number of complaints now means that people know where to go. So awareness campaigns are effective as they need to be. Go back, please. Go back, please. Last year, 2024, the CAA, and I think that the CAA deserves a round of applause for this, because it's for his support. It's his support that has enabled us activities. We recorded the largest volume of resolved cases in the history of the CAA. You may be aware that the CAA is 5 years old. We recorded as well the largest volume of refunds in our history. The airlines are here. Am I telling the truth? The largest also volume of compensation in the history of the CAA. And of course, last year we held the largest volume of stakeholder engagement in the history of the CAA. Airlines are now more compliant compared to the past. Can it be better? Yes, it should be more better, much better, but we are getting there. Let's listen to one of the management of people.
Also, even though we the airlines, nobody should report this one, we would prefer to make NCAA the harass or consumer protection. But when the way the NCAA is now carrying on this consumer protection matter, the thing so it has made us rise to the occasion more than we would have done before. Because we know very well that before you do things, that's the director and you look for
So there are also other recommendations from stakeholders. Let's begin. I will at this juncture ask for, with due respect, a standing ovation for Captain Christian Adomo, because the CAA existed before today, and every member of the management of the CAA today can tell Every staff of the CAA here today knows that it has never been this good in the CAA. It's an unruly passenger on board an aircraft. If this officer had completed the standard level, it would never have come to this. Move on to the next slide. This is even a completed software. This person has completed, is lying down with their hands by their side, and this is like, I'm not saying this is right. On the next slide. Now, you see, why we must comply with security especially, and the pilots and crew, is because the nature of aviation, if you make the slightest error and anything happens, the consequences are too colossal. For your error, you can die. If the other passenger has to make a mistake, you can die. Even for things as simple as fasten seatbelt, even when the seatbelt line is turned off, we have seen it in recorded history where the doors or a portion of an aircraft suddenly gets yanked off. The persons who are not strapped in their seatbelts, they get stuck on the plane and they die. We don't want this happening in our industry. And God has been faithful to the industry in Nigeria. Now, when you feel offended as a passenger, what do? You report to the CAA. That's why we are here. Because we exist to protect your rights. For the longest time,
Director General, Nigeria, Civil Aviation Authority.
Of course. Now, that is the first thing you hear when you enter the consumer protection portal of the NCAA. This is our automated system where passengers can go and file their complaints. And what better voice to welcome you, to suit your pains than that of the PTA, who, by the way, the politics of course, you should have been a broadcaster if you were not planning. For the longest time, the Honorable Minister had as his pinned tweet these 3 email addresses. If you cannot navigate this portal, you simply send an email copying these 3 email addresses. On a daily basis, we refresh this information we are putting out every day on X, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok even. You send your complaint there, we will treat them. Let's go to the next slide. Of course, lessons need to be learned by everybody. There is even some unspoken parts of the recent issues that, for certain reasons, they've not been brought to the fore. But we need to deal with them internally and honestly, most honestly, because the essence of gatherings like this is defeated if all we do is come, talk of committeedness, and then go back and do nothing, and then nothing is done. Where was access? How effective has access been? What's the role that other agencies have done?
As a matter of fact, because there used to be complaints about people not knowing or recognizing them, we have uniformed them. Now, these uniforms, they were launched by the Honorable Minister and the DGCA, much fanfare, so they are difficult now to miss. And on a daily basis, whether departure, arrival, or baggage area, you find those officers there. With regards to the mode of arrest, you are the security professional, but we also have, even if the door had been shut, and then there were other passengers still on board when the arrest was going to be made, sir, may I throw this question back at you? If the passenger has still refused to be cooperative, was there a cleaner way to, retrieve that passenger? Especially given that the aircraft was waiting for turnaround, and so, she was likely going to cause, a flight disruption.
The telephone can interfere with the navigation system, which will cause the aircraft to lose control to another country, to another place. In fact, everybody will switch it off.
Other issues I wanted to mention, go back to the course of the presentations, because
Like we were mentioning the case of Guam 1, you know, you say at Guam 2, crew resource management would have assisted us a great deal. For instance, if the pilot, the captain in the second incident did not allow all the passengers to exit, and then they held on to the last passenger, maybe the mode of arrest would have assisted us. Because if she became too unruly and damaged items in the evening, would have been more disastrous. But a beautiful way and a strategic way of doing that would have been stop all the passengers from coming down at a time, or notify the security on the ground of the incident, let all the passengers come out, and then identify the actual, because she will not still walk out, she will enter the bus, get to inside the airport, pick up her luggage. She would have been quietly arrested from inside as against inside the aircraft, reducing the risk and damage and the embarrassment that all of us were caused. Thank you so much.
I'm here this morning to represent my chairman, Senator Buhari Abdul Fatai, who is unavoidably absent and has directed that I stand in for him. As I prepared to get here, the question on my lip was, what are we coming for? Well, the chairman of the Security Committee, the DG NCAA, I think have said why we are here. But to me, as a person, the challenge we have as a people and as a nation is one of discipline and lack of professionalism. The way and manner we handle assignments. Little sentiments here and there have not allowed us to do the needful. And I think that is the core of why we are here. As a regulator, I think those we are bringing in to be our workforce, irrespective of through which channel they are engaged or employed, must be made to understand that on resumption, those channels ceased. They now have a responsibility, they now have a duty, and their duty is to be professional. And at such time, which borders on capacity building, of course, as the DG said, training and retraining. So we lack that. Yesterday I shared with a Leonard Sikh, a senior advocate of Nigeria, who just returned from Kigali, that at the airport, somebody helped with his bags and everything to the checkpoint. But at that point, the fellow just said, "Oh, sorry, I'm coming." And that was the end of it. He disappeared. And he went ahead to check in and to return back to the country. A marked difference from what operates within our setup. So when we are gathered here today, not to share blames, and I think it is obvious, and we should take this, that we have a responsibility to discharge our duties as and when due, and as we often say, without favor. We have enough rules, we have enough regulations. What is left is executing those rules, carrying out those regulations to the best of our ability, in such a professional manner. Thank you, DG, for the much you have done and you are doing. I boarded the flight to Lagos one day, and sitting beside me was a lady, a staff of the NCAA, monitoring what was going on in the flight. We need more of that, sir. Not only in the flight, but for FAN and other agencies within the aviation subsector to play their own part to complement what the NCAA is doing. I wish all of us the best in this gathering this morning, and to come out with resolutions that will not form part of another talk show, but resolutions meant to be implemented. Thank you and God bless.
Today, on this important emergency meeting of the National Civil Aviation Security Committee, I want to thank the Nigeria Civil Aviation, especially the DG, Captain Chris Najomo, of so many years of flying. I remember the last time we went to Jeddah together. It's a pleasure being here today. For the invitation and for bringing together such a distinguished group of experts and stakeholders. I want to tell you the House of Representatives in general and the House Committee in particular on aviation. We recognize the critical importance of aviation security to our national safety. At the same time, and the economic well-being of this country. The issue we are going to be discussing today are paramount. And I need to commend everyone for the dedication to ensure the highest standard of security within the aviation industry. I am confident that through these informed and exhaustive discussions, we can collectively identify the trending security issues and formulate effective strategies to address them. Our committee is committed to supporting all the effort here, and we're going to work collaboratively to create a safer and more secure aviation environment for all Nigerians. When I came here, I met a friend of mine who is one of you, AFSEC, and I asked him a question. I said, where is the safety group? Because I know a lady in safety. Very, very proactive. And he said, no, this is for just security. And I'm like, if we want to secure our airspace, and there's, because why we're here today is to look at terrorism, look at sabotage. If there's a terrorism action going on, and we need to secure our airspace, where are the other agencies? I want us to also look at it critically today, that we need to look at not only on the ground, because what is trending now is that we're looking at unruly behavior of passengers. Let us look at unruly behavior of passengers even while airborne, so that we can also not only looking at what is trending now, we also look at what we envisage to happen. I want to wish us that this celebration is going to be a good one, and we're going to be positive when we come out of it. And I still want to reiterate that the House Committee on Aviation is ready, willing, and able to support you all. Thank you all, and thanks for the good celebration.
Managers of airlines, other service providers, speakers and key stakeholders, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I welcome you all to this expanded meeting of the National Security Aviation Security Committee with stakeholders, and sincerely thank you for your attendance at short notice. Recent occurrences involving passengers and unruliness and perceived lapses in the system can ultimately damage public trust in aviation. These have necessitated reassessing our actions and response in line with laid down policies, procedures, and protocols. As a regulator, the NCAA has seen the urgent need to call the responsible parties together to ensure our respective roles and responsibilities are not only understood as detailed in several documents, but carried out professionally and effectively. Today's engagement is not about pointing fingers or appointing blame. No, that will not achieve the desired result. It is rather about listening, discussing and awakening us to our individual and collective responsibilities towards a safe and secure air transport sector. The objectives, therefore, will be two. Number one, analyze and fully understand the chain of failures, technological, procedural, human, that permitted this incident. Two, unify and strengthen interagency coordination, especially between NCAA, FAN, AFSEC, security services, and law enforcement. Three, determine and deploy immediate corrective measures to ensure a safe and secure airport infrastructure and enforce personnel compliance and response. Four, identify quick wins and policy gaps, establishing mitigations that can be operationalized immediately before the next threat emerges, and of course reiterates the need to training, retraining, and continuous training on matters relating to aviation security. I must emphasize that various documents deal with these kinds of breaches, from the Civil Aviation Act to the Nigerian Civil Aviation Regulations to security programs and operations manuals of service providers. But documenting rules alone, while being the first step, will not solve the problem. That is precisely why we are meeting today, to work together, share experiences, and enhance our awareness of these documented rules and procedures to prevent or contain unruly acts. We must summon the courage and professionalism to implement procedures without fear or favor. In the wake of recent occurrences, the Honorable Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development demonstrated sector leadership in seeking resolutions that are fair, just, and in line with aviation regulations and standards. The National Assembly has also taken a keen interest by asking that respective parties live up to their responsibilities. Today's engagement is therefore going to address different aspects of the ecosystem: the regulator, airline security, airspace security, airport security, and of course, the traveling public, who do not only have rights, but have responsibilities. Let me remember that the safety of our aviation system is the safety of our nation. The outcomes of this meeting must lead to tangible, immediate enforcement of operational protocols, public confidence restoration, and strive to close vulnerabilities. I encourage honest and practical contributions so that by the end of this meeting, we have a clear perspective that will propel the discharge of our various obligations. Thank you, and God bless.
You're looking younger, you want to jump for?
Moduai Moke, Director of Air Traffic Services, Nigerian Air Force, representing the Chief of the Air Staff in this auspicious event. First, let me thank the DG for putting up a high caliber meeting of this nature to discuss the way forward on some of the significant issues bedeviling the aviation security. Now, naturally, once you identify that you have a problem and you've come together to chart a way forward, then a solution is in view. Having said that, let me state some very basic facts about aviation and to buttress why this meeting is an all-important event. Fact one, the aviation industry has become a vital and critical tool for socio-economic development for most countries and nations of the world. Fact two, it has also grown in leaps and bounds, starting from when humanity entered the business of aviation up till the moment we find ourselves. Now, in the early days of aviation, security was just a minor concern. I mean, people going to the airport, what really concerned them was to go through protocols, board an aircraft, and travel to where you're going to. However, as the aviation industry grew, complex security concerns also, unfortunately, grew along with it. Let me establish one thing out of this. Every intending criminal, everyone intending to break security protocol within the aviation environment is only looking for gaps. In other words, if we don't have gaps, then it is very unlikely that we'll have security issues. Now, what does that lead me into? I want to just state categorically two things that define the nature of aviation security challenges in this country. I'll leave that as an assignment. We'll go think about it individually. Perhaps when next we have a gathering of this nature, it could come up. Two things, two challenges. Having studied aviation security models across the globe, two challenges define that of Nigeria. Number one, the multi-security nature of our airport environment. I'll tell you how that comes in. In our setting, we have multi-security agency arrangement, each individually concerned with whatever mandate government has given her. Now, this is done at the expense of a coordinated leadership structure that is supposed to work in synergy in furtherance of what the government has collectively sent all of us to do at the airport. Now, so long as those gaps exist, like I have established before, criminals are ready to make use of those gaps. Then number two, shortly before I sit down, you see, the job of revenue generation and the job of security are two very critical issues. You don't assign those two jobs to one person. Now your guess is as good as mine. Once you do that, the mass activities will naturally be skewed towards revenue generation at the expense of security. And as soon as that happens, we'll continue to have most of these challenges in our hands. Thank you very much for offering the invitation to the Nigerian Air Force to be part of this meeting, and I believe as deliberations go on, the horizon will become clearer, and we'll all pool our resources together to make sure we address the ongoing challenges in our aviation security environment. Thank you.